Thanks. It's great to be here. It's amazing. I have a bit of a cold, so I'm just praying that my voice stays with me for 15 minutes and stops after that. So, as was said in the introduction, my name is Yaron. I'm the founder of a company called Outbrain. We're the world's first and largest content recommendation or content discovery platform. Just a bit about myself. Before starting Outbrain, I started a couple of companies before. My previous company, we basically invented contextual advertising alongside a little company that had a product called AdSense. That is not Google. Most people think AdSense is a Google invention. They actually acquired the company that did AdSense. So my previous company, Quigo, and AdSense, we competed on contextual advertising, invented the space, and AdSense went to Google. My company, eventually, we sold to AOL. So it was a great business success, but as a consumer, I was becoming very frustrated because I was looking at the ads my own company was putting all across the web on the best publishers in the world, and I couldn't find value for myself. It became annoying, interruptive advertising, and I found myself, this is pre-ad blockers, but I found myself ignoring my own company's ads, and I thought if me ignoring my own company's ads, that's probably not a great future for advertising and for publishing in general. And so I started about 8 years ago a company called Outbrain, and we'll talk about it next. So to start in terms of background, here's a chart of this Nielsen numbers about what we do online. And obviously there's a lot of time that goes into, people spend a lot on search, about a fifth of their time, and about a quarter of the time goes into social, obviously. But if you look at content consumption, reading content and watching video and music, that's about a third of the time spent by people. And it's interesting because we focus, in terms of marketing, a lot of our attention on search while spending less time in where people are discovering content. I like to think about those two sides of the world. As search, you know what you're looking for, you have a keyword for it. It's sort of like the yellow pages. Whereas with content, you don't necessarily know what you're looking for. You don't know what the interesting news of the day is going to be. You couldn't express it in a keyword. And that's the world of content discovery, where people are flipping through and discovering what to consume next, what to read next, or what to watch next. So that area is about a third of what people do online, and I think it's a very important area as we look forward in online marketing. In terms of Outbrain, this is the only marketing slide. So what we do is content recommendations. You see us on some of the best publishers in the world. So places like CNN and Time Inc. and Condé Nast. We power all the content recommendations on their desktop, on their mobile apps, mobile web, video, et cetera, everything they publish. Here in Germany, we power the content recommendations on Bild and Chip and Focus Online, Handelsblatt, Huffington Post, N24, Sport One, et cetera. So we're really the leader in terms of recommending content. And if any of you have been on the web, I'm pretty sure you've been Outbrain users. So people on these publishers, we reach over 500 million people, and people search or discover over 1 billion pieces of content with us every month. The scale is just tremendous. So in terms of reaching a huge audience of engaged readers, this is probably the best platform in the world. Now, there's a lot of pain that's going through the worlds of content and where people discover it and how they reach it. You know, a lot has changed from the old homepages of publishers to people discovering it on social networks. But what we've seen all along the way is that the consumption of content is just keeps going up and up and up. People consume more and more content. They go, you know, they now take the effort to share and like and do all these things. They even take the effort to install software to block the ads that they're annoyed by. So content consumption is as strong as it's ever been. The way I think about this in terms of brands or what marketers should be doing is it's the perfect platform for telling your story. And to me, in a simplistic view, you're either a product and then there's no story behind your product, or you're a brand. And the difference is really the brand is a story, and there's no better way to tell people a story versus where they're consuming content and consuming stories. So I want to give a few examples of brands and the stories they tell. I'll start with this, with Gillette. My voice. So a lot of people think about content marketing as something that's only fit for Apple, Tesla, and brands like that, which are high-end luxury brands that can tell a story. And Apple is an amazing example of content marketing. Right? Every few months, we all sit for an hour or two of content marketing and let them tell us all their stories. But I think, again, if you're a brand, even if it's a daily brand, a consumer good brand, if there's a story behind it, there's content marketing to be made. So a few examples that I particularly love that have been doing content marketing with us. First one is Gillette, and I like bucketing the content marketing efforts into a few types. This is my personal favorite, which is, I call that category the how it's made category. So not many of us think about how razors are made, but there's actually a lot that goes into the engineering and the science of making blades. And what most people, at least in the US, thought, Gillette found, was that the razors are probably all manufactured in China, and they're all commodity. And they had a lot of competition from Chinese manufacturers. What they did is a series of content marketing where they went into their factory. All Gillette, by the way, is manufactured in their factory in Boston, and it's for over 100 years. And they went and interviewed the best experts that you have on razors. Again, they've been doing this for 100 years. So all the engineers and the scientists and the people in the production line that have been doing the best razors in the world are sitting there in their factory. They went and filmed them and created content marketing that way. I think for American consumers, knowing that it's manufactured there and you have kind of proud engineers behind it is a real story that resonates with a lot of people. Another example here is Reese. So I like calling this category the Steve Jobs category, and I mean this in the old PC days, where it was really hard to sell or differentiate a product based on features. Commodity products, the way PCs were, it's hard to tell a compelling brand story by saying we have more megahertz or more RAM or things like that from the old PC days. What Steve Jobs was doing that no one else was doing was telling us the story of how we can be amazing using that product. So their marketing was never focused on the features list or the specs. It was focused on how each of us can be amazing if we just used an Apple. And so again, with Reese as a retailer, what they do is they have a lot of aspirational content about here's ways to think about your fashion or different ways to use our clothes. Another great example, which I like to call the expert model, is this is Bank of America. And when you have the best companies in the world, again, just like Gillette, you have the best experts in the world probably sitting within that company. So Bank of America wanted to position themselves as the expert in loans and funding and planning your financial life. And there's no better way to do that than content. The one example, not here, but I just love it, is General Electric, where they have some of the most amazing scientists in the world. So the guy that invented the LED 40 years ago is still working at the GE labs, which is just amazing. So they did a whole big interview with him talking about the invention of the LED. I want to give my own personal story of how and why I started a company around content marketing and basically that's pioneering this space. And this is the supermarket. I moved from Israel to New York about 10 years ago, and this is the supermarket I went to the first day I'm there to shop for our new apartment. And it's the typical household cleaning aisle. And all these detergents were basically all the same to me. It's a new country. I didn't know any of the brands, so I can see there's the blue guy and the red guy and the orange guy. But beyond that, I just don't know what they are, and it really doesn't matter. And I think each of these brands could have spent a lot of money in advertising to mean all kinds of ways, but still it would probably be the blue guy and the orange guy, and I wouldn't care about it. Now, I love reading, which is one of the reasons I started Outbrain, and I stumbled onto this story in Fast Company, one of my favorite magazines, which was about the two founders of a brand. I don't think this brand is in Germany. It's called Seventh Generation. But those two guys were two entrepreneurs. They were looking at that same aisle, and they were saying those products are just a disaster for the environment. They're terrible in packaging. They're terrible in what goes into the products themselves. And they decided to start this company called Seventh Generation, where the idea was we'll take just plain household cleaning products and just make them better and better for the environment, both in packaging and what goes inside. The story was great. It's a long story. I still recommend it. The end of this I loved. They included a letter they got from one of their customers that said that her baby, she was putting things in the dishwasher, and her baby came and took 2 handfuls of the detergent and ate them. And so she called the poison control center frantically, saying, my baby's going to die. She just ate detergent. What should I do? And on the phone, they asked her, what brand is the detergent? And she said, Seventh Generation. And so they said, okay, well, just give her a glass of water, wash her hands, and she'll be fine then. And she sent this letter thanking them for saving her baby's life. Now, me with three little children, it's game over. That story is done. This is 10 or 11 years ago. And the only thing we've been buying since then is Seventh Generation. So a little experiment that I'd urge you, I'm not sure you can do this experiment in Germany, but next time you're in the US, a simple experiment that I'd really love for you to do is when you go to the supermarket, go through the detergent aisle and just try to go through it all and not think about Seventh Generation. Okay, that's the experiment. It should be fairly simple. And if it worked, if you went through the aisle and did not think about Seventh Generation, please send me an email. So again, I think the big difference between a product and a brand is the story that's behind it. And for me, Seventh Generation now has a story. They don't need to resell me over and over and over. Any of the other brands, they need to be in my face and sell and spend over and over and over on selling to me. Seventh Generation doesn't. We see a lot of folks on content marketing, a lot of digital marketers looking into doing more of it. We're seeing a lot of content being produced in our network. I'll talk about a couple of trends that I think are interesting. This is the Mary Meeker data. I think we're all familiar with this, where we're seeing a lot of the consumption move to mobile. At Outbrain, we're seeing across our publishers about half, a little over half of the content is now being consumed on mobile. And I think for you as marketers, it's it's both a challenging and an interesting time and opportunity, because with mobile, especially when we're looking at the world of ad blocks and Google or Facebook Instant Articles and Apple News and all those places where they're taking the content but saying no thank you to the ads, how we reach the consumers is a big challenge. And I think increasingly, the ability to reach the consumers through the interruptions, through the ads, is going to diminish, and the ability to reach people through the content, giving them the story that they want to read, is going to increase. And so this trend into mobile and all these instant articles trends, I think, are going to mean we're going to all have to be thinking about how are we in the content well, not the advertising well. I have another minute, and then we have the bar, I think. You all know this probably, but the odds of being struck by lightning are much higher than the odds of any of you clicking on a display ad, statistically. There's another one, I'm not sure, I didn't verify it myself, but you're 40 times more likely to have twins than to click on a banner. And so I think, again, these numbers really speak to people are ignoring, blocking, not looking at the display advertising, but are spending increasing amounts of time consuming content and discovering it in many different ways. I think the last point I'll make is funnel. So we'd like to think about the marketing funnel as this beautiful thing, a triangle that goes like this. We're not sure, and I'm saying this based on music. based on the data we're seeing, that the people are going through the funnel the way we as marketers want them to. They're really jumping around and looking for stuff. And it's important to place the content bets in those places because people are moving around. And I'll leave you with the last thought. No one has ever looked at the search page, the blank Google page, and said, "Oh my God, I need a Samsung TV. This page is so inspiring to me. I need a Samsung TV." That has not happened there. They do express it there, but where those seeds were planted was in the whole content journey of jumping around and learning about things, finding out about them in ways they didn't expect, and ultimately getting to that search box. With that, I really thank you for the time.